I left the city, I've been browsing, treading water that they drowning. My head on a swivel, yeah. It's only really my surroundings.
Hello and welcome to another YouTube exclusive show of Smash Accept. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Joined me as always is by the fucking, why the hell can't I ever do this right? I need like my normal intro.
It doesn't, it sounds odd when you don't do the regular. It just sounds like it's not the OG.
It's not.
I left the city, I've been browsing, treading water that they drowning. My head on a swivel, yeah. It's only really my surroundings.
And welcome to another episode of YouTube exclusive Smash Accept. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Joined as always by my main man, Snoog. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good, Dad. I'm excited for this one. I mean, we're about to talk about some of our favorite values in redraft and in Dynasty. It kind of ties together, especially for us who are in 20-plus leagues and we eat, breathe, and sleep fantasy football like Dad and I. So I'm excited to jump into this, and we're going to go back and forth and play a little. This is why you need this guy on your team.
Yeah, and now's that time where we switch from Dynasty, and then we're all almost redraft-centric once we start to get to the regular season. We want to win. A couple of wide receivers we're going to talk about that we absolutely love right now. First guy, you look at, guys that are wide receiver ones, and you look at where they're being drafted, and A.J. Brown right now is going as the wide receiver 6, and most times in that late first, early second. There's another guy in Philadelphia that goes considerably later who has a tremendous ceiling.
Yeah, Dad, I'm pretty sure you said they're like 40-plus spots.
48 picks, four full rounds separate these two.
That's incredible for a guy that has paced back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, top 10 finishes, and now the Eagles finally bring in an offensive coordinator that, like we saw what Shane Steichen with Devonta Smith could do. Now we see Kellen Moore, a guy that was absolutely phenomenal at using and motioning players. The Chargers ranked top 5 in motion snaps last year alone. Keenan Allen had a phenomenal year. I mean, record-breaking for himself. 108 receptions in like 12 and a half games, which is absolutely absurd. Keenan Allen was absolutely elite last year. Probably going to finish top 2 to 3 last year if he played a full 17. And then you look at CeeDee Lamb, what he did back in 2022 with Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. He was absolutely elite as well. He had his breakout top 5 finish. We knew the talent was always there. We just needed him to elevate and get there. Kellen Moore came in and gave him that opportunity out of the slot. He uses these very specific players like these Devonta Smiths, these CeeDee Lambs, these guys that are like route running technicians. They know how to get open. They know the soft spots in zone. They're just very fundamentally sound players that are just good at football. They came from those big Power 5 schools. Devonta Smith won the Heisman at the wide receiver position. He was used exactly how Kellen Moore is going to use him in this offense when he had the Heisman season at Alabama. Absolutely just being a mismatch nightmare. He's long, he's lengthy, he's fast. He had a career 27% target per route run out of the slot in the NFL so far without Kellen Moore. And Kellen Moore is known for using the slot wide receiver to motion around and get those mismatches at an absurd rate. A.J. Brown is going to probably play a little bit slot too. They're going to get creative here. But it's going to bring a new element that the Philly offense hasn't had yet, or hasn't had since Shane Steichen 2 years ago, where they all had career years. So I'm all in on Devonta Smith this year. I think he has the talent. He now has the opportunity, which he'll be used right and properly out of the slot. He's going to be going up against guys that have no business covering him. And he's just good after the catch. He's a good athlete. He's good at everything. So Devonta Smith, I'm stamping. I think he's going to have, at worst, another top 15, top 20 season. But he has the upside to be like, I tweeted this earlier on in the week. He is like what Calvin Ridley was to Julio Jones, what Devonta Smith is to A.J. Brown. So I'm all in on Devonta Smith for 2024. My next guy here, though, I want to give to you, Dad, because I know we're both high on him. Sell me on Amari Cooper and why we should be drafting him in Dynasty and Redraft.
Dude, Amari Cooper last year was pacing out at 1,400 yards, and he had his career high in yards. He was 17.6 fantasy points per game with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is back and looks like the Deshaun Watson of old. He's got that swagger back. If you look at what Deshaun Watson did last year, he had 3 top 10 finishes out of his 5 starts. So I think last year we were going to start to see Deshaun Watson really take that step back to who he was before. But it took the injury to Deshaun Watson and then Joe Flacco just unleashing Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was a league winner last year. He's top 15 year in and year out. Right now, he's going in an ADP around 54, which puts him all the way down. If you look at it, I mean, he's down in that wide receiver area he's past Devonta Smith. He's a wide receiver 26, Snoog, with top 12 to 15 upside. The other thing that I look at is in this offense with Nick Chubb likely starting out on the PUP list, Jerome Ford is the primary ball carrier. I think they're going to have to throw the ball more in an offense where they're in a division where they're going to have to go up against Cincinnati and they're going to have to put up points. Pittsburgh's offense is going to be much better than last year. The Ravens, they're going to be in games where they have to score and they're going to need to throw the ball considerably more. And right now he is going at wide receiver 26 in that late 4th, early 5th round in that same area as Christian Kirk, Tank Dell, T. Higgins. I want that guy that's going to get number 1 level targets, and that's Amari Cooper for me for sure. Like, I think this is going to be a fantastic year for him. Other guy going in that area, who has tremendous upside, a guy that you and I both love. I think the floor for Amari Cooper is a top 24 wide receiver with the ceiling a top 12 to 15. This guy here is someone that you and I have been just pounding the drums on. We've been saying, go out and buy this, the clear number 1 option in Pittsburgh. Is this the George Pickens breakout year?
It is, and I'm going to tell you why. Because not only is he getting a QB upgrade, this is a guy that is literally not even the clear number 1 option. He's the only option in the passing game for the Steelers this year. Justin Fields with DJ Moore. DJ Moore paced out 1,500 plus yards. Cortland Sutton, another guy not even close to as talented as George Pickens is, 10 touchdowns. I think DJ Moore and George Pickens are both similar with how they stretch the field and make plays downfield. That's just those elite playmakers. I think he's going to fit up nice with Justin Fields. They had that chemistry. Both went to Georgia at one point. They've been knowing each other for a long time, quote unquote, said Justin Fields. So that chemistry was easy to build. They're really close right now in training camp. They're lighting it up together. I mean, he had that breakout second season, too. He just lacked touchdowns. He had 1,100 plus yards with bottom 3 QB play, right? Led the NFL in yards per reception with 18.1. Just shows how he can win downfield consistently. Had 2+ yards per out run, which is another metric that we want to see. We want to see that he's efficient when he's running routes on the football field with or without bad quarterbacks. Tends to be lower when there's bad quarterbacks, but for him it wasn't. And he was top 10 in yards after catch per reception with 6.1. So he was pretty all around last year. I know he's when you're looking for these type of players and you're looking for these breakouts, you're looking for clear path to targets, elite talent. Do they have decent QB play? It doesn't have to be the best QB play in the world. It just has to be somewhat decent. Is it going to be probably in the latter half of bottom 20 to 25? Probably. But as long as it's not 31, 32, 30 like it was last year, if it's 20, 19, 18, that's a huge upgrade that we don't even realize. Yeah, sure, Steelers are going to win 8 games. I don't care. George Pickens is going to have 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's what I care about. So I think he's one of those guys going in that range that has more upside than anybody around him. And I think he has a pretty safe floor because, he's just been a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 with these terrible quarterbacks. And now he has a bit of an upgrade. At worst, he scores 6-7 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, and he's still a top 15 guy, top 20 guy. So I'm all in on him, man. I think he's going to get an upstick in target share. I think he's going to get an upstick in just receptions overall because I know he was more of a field stretcher in that last offense. He said Arthur Smith's offense and the new offense put in there has been a lot easier, a lot more looks, a lot more across the middle because he was just not targeted across the middle of the field. That wasn't a George Pickens issue. That was a Kenny Pickett issue. Kenny Pickett can't hit the broadside of a barn if he's standing 10 feet away from it. So that's for another day. Let's jump into the next guy. This is a guy that has the chemistry with the quarterback in a top 3 offense, Dad, where no other receiver other than Travis Kelce in this room has chemistry with Patrick Mahomes, and it's Rashee Rice. Tell me on Rashee Rice and why we should be buying him in both Dynasty and taking advantage of his redraft ADP because I don't think the suspension's coming.
I love the Boston accent coming out with the bond there. I love
Yeah.
it. It's fantastic. No, you know what? This is where we get to the gamble, right? I think Rashee Rice right now is going at wide receiver 36, 37, depending on what site you use. The breakout we already saw, over 1,000 yards, over 7 touchdowns, 80 plus receptions. When you dig close, top 10 in the NFL in red zone, top 10 in targets inside the 10, top 10 inside end zone targets, and these are things that are not going to go away. 8.3 yards per reception was second, or in Yak was second in the league. Like, he is someone that is very special. What they're going to have this year, you got Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, 2 guys that run 4.2, 4.3 speed on the outside to stretch things out. Patrick Mahomes, I keep saying it, is going to throw for 4,000 plus. I could see 5,000 plus yards this year. Like, this is going to be a monster stamp year for Patrick Mahomes, and I want as many pieces as possible. I want Rashee Rice, because I think Rashee Rice to be top 10 in all of those metrics, inside the 10, inside the 20, inside in the end zone, and only have 7 touchdowns. I could see very easily this year, again, over 1,000 yards.
Yep.
His yak ability is phenomenal. So he's going to put up those extra yards. He's that security blanket for Patrick Mahomes. I see another 1,000 yards, 10 plus touchdowns, and I think he finishes inside the top 20. And right now he's going at wide receiver 36, 37. And everybody says, well, Dad, he's going to get suspended. The court case isn't going to be until December now. Do I advocate what he did? Absolutely not. But in Dynasty, he's been a buy that whole time. Now, it doesn't look like there's going to be any suspension. If you're taking him in redraft, you're going to have him the entire season. 2025 might be a different story, but Rashee Rice is a guy that I'm going out there and buying. And going from one elite quarterback to another, there's one other guy that I really want to make sure we get to, because I've been huge on buying Nico Collins. I've been huge on buying anything related to CJ Stroud. But Tank Dell is associated. He goes a clear 28 picks later than Nico Collins. And when you look at elite level offenses, you look at those big gaps between DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, between AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, between Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Tank Dell is an absolute value, and at times he looked like the guy that was CJ Stroud's favorite target.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like you mentioned, he's so much cheaper than Nico Collins. How about we talk about when both were on the field last year? Tank Dell had more PPR points, more touchdowns, and he had more yards when he was on the field as Nico Collins at the same time. And he was a rookie. If that's all you need to hear to just draft Tank Dell, like they're all gonna eat. They're in a team that CJ Stroud could throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns as a ceiling. Tank Dell there's just reasons to buy him, but one of them, he's tied to a top 3 offense. I think Stroud and Tank Dell have a special connection. Like, I think they truly do. They have that trust in each other. I think he's like, Tank Dell is like Chris or CJ Stroud's Chris Olave from Ohio State days. Like, that's the vibe I get from it. He loves just that downfield field stretcher, which is kind of what Diggs does. But Tank Dell and Diggs can both thrive in a similar type of role, because one of them is going to be kind of that more like across the middle slot guy that just eats with their yak, which is probably going to be Tank. And then Diggs is going to be more of that like Z or that Y, while Nico's out there on the X just dominating the perimeter out there on the boundary. So I'm excited for that. Tank Dell is the cheapest out of the 3, and he was the best on the team last year. He was pacing 1,200 plus yards and like 10 touchdowns as a rookie. He had 7 touchdowns in 10.5 games. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. Investing in the less expensive option in elite level offenses.
Exactly.
Because injuries are going to happen. That opens up the opportunity for Tank Dell could be a wide receiver 1. He was for a stretch during the season. So that's the other guy, you want to do that with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is going 28 picks behind Puka Nacua. He looks fully healthy. Someone that has, down the stretch, when healthy for the final 6 games, was top 10 in red zone. He scored 7 touchdowns in 38 games now with Matthew Stafford. He's going to have wide receiver 1 upside as well. So thanks again for tuning in, guys. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Go back, check. We just did a show on Malik Neighbors, all different dynasty trades on there. We did a couple of redraft shows where we're talking about running backs. So make sure you guys check out all that Smash content. Thanks again for tuning in, and enjoy the process.